Now we'll study the causes of jointing. First is contraction during formation. So during formation of sedimentary rocks, some of them contain a lot of moisture content in initial stages. When this water inside the rock dries up, it creates cracks on the surface. So to actually understand this, I've just given a small example of let's say the dough that we use for making the rotis or chapatis. So you might have seen this in the kitchen when if you visit in the kitchen. If we need a dough and if we keep it, first of all, when it is needed fresh, at that time it has some moisture and some water into it, water, oil as well. But when we keep it, let's say we keep it for a long time outside only. After that, what will happen when it starts drying? You will see that it is forming some cracks over it, right? So those cracks are basically because of the water inside that is drying up. And same happens with the sedimentary rocks as well. The sedimentary rocks have a lot of moisture during the initial stages, but as and how it dries up because of the environmental conditions, because of that the jointing starts happening in the rocks. So this was contraction during formation and in the sedimentary rocks. We can also say this for the igneous rocks, that, and I've already explained this, that while igneous rocks are cooling, there is a contraction that happens in the body of that rock, and because of that the tensile stresses are set up and the joints are formed. So this was contraction during formation. Again, we have contraction due to some other reasons as well. Expansion and contraction due to other reasons. Now, one of the most prominent reasons for expansion and contraction is temperature changes. We all know about this, that there are various bodies which expand and contract to the temperature rise and temperature fall. So rocks, like every other material, expand and contract due to temperature rise and fall. This repeated expansion and contraction in rocks sets up stresses within the rocks, which causes the rock to break into joints. So because the rock is continuously expanding and contracting, because of that there are stresses which are developed in the body of the rock and it basically cracks. This will generally happen in those places where the day and night temperature difference, or the summer and winter temperature difference, is too large and the range is given as minus 50 degrees to plus 60 degrees. Obviously there is no place where this range is there, this range of temperature difference happens, or if it is there, I don't know, but it is just a range given. It might be minus 3 degrees to maybe plus 30 degrees, something like that. Also for a particular place, this range might also be there. In I guess those extreme climates, this generally happens. Apart from temperature, the expansion also takes place due to the release of overburden stresses on rock. So here in the previous point we discussed contraction during the formation stage. Here we are discussing those possibilities of expansion and contraction which is apart from that formation phase. So first we talked about the temperature. Second is the overburden pressure. Now, how the release of overburden pressure is going to create expansion? See, if there is a rock which is already present, and on the rock we let's say it has a big structure over it, okay, and this structure has considerable weight to it. Now this structure which is on top of this rock, it is doing, it is actually putting a pressure over the rock, and let's say that this pressure is not enough to cause cracking, okay, it is not exceeding the stresses, the permissible stresses of the rock. When I say permissible stresses, it means those stresses which the rock can sustain. So let's say that this structure is not causing any cracking in the rock, but it has compressed the rock, okay, because of this force which is coming downwards, it has compressed the rock. Now it so happens that let us say I want to construct something here and I don't want this rock in between. The top rock which is there, I don't want it. So I demolish that thing. Okay. Now what has happened? Suddenly the pressure which was there here because of the rock, that has been released, and the rock which was compressed, now it starts expanding. It starts expanding to its original size, and during this expansion of that rock there are some stresses set up inside, and because of that the cracks may happen. So this is expansion of the rocks during which the cracks or the jointing can happen inside the rock. Next is crustal disturbances. So it has to be agreed that jointing is the first step to faulting, correct? So if there is no fracture, then how is the faulting going to take place? So for faulting, we need a fracture in the rock, and before faulting has taken place, that fracture is there. It means that there is no movement. So I can call that fracture as a joint, right? So any case which is going to cause faulting is basically the cause of your jointing as well, because all the causes of faulting can be considered for the cause of jointing in which the relative movement has not taken place after formation of cracks. So first step into faulting was formation of cracks, right? And what is this? Formation of cracks is nothing but jointing. So first step of jointing is first step of faulting is actually jointing. So whatever causes of faulting are there, that we can consider for the jointing as well. Now engineering consideration of joints. Joints are always considered as source of weakness in the rock as they disintegrate the rock and reduce its inherent strength. So when the jointing takes place inside the body of the rock, it cracks the rock and it is going to reduce its strength to take any load over it, right? Second engineering consideration is that it is the pathway for water. So if there are cracks in the body of the rock, and if that rock is nearby a water source, or let's say because of the rain as well, so the water is going to seep inside the rock, right? So what happens in the cold region is, if the water has seeped inside the rock, and if it is a cold region, this water is going to freeze. And what is the property or what is the behavior of water when it freezes? It expands, right? And that behavior is called as anomalous behavior of water. So it is going to expand, and this expansion is going to cause stresses in the body of the rock, because now the joint has expanded and it is going to cause stresses. So these stresses are again going to disintegrate your rock further. So water expands due to anomalous behavior of water, thus further widening the crack and weakening the rock. Second, in dams and in tunnels. So joints would cause leakage or seepage of water underneath the dams, which will void the purpose of the dam and may even cause failure of the dam. So let's say I'm just trying to draw a dam here, okay, and I will use a different pen for that, and let us say that this is the ground surface and it is filled with rocks here, okay, different rocks, and there are joints which are there in the rocks. Now why do we build dams? We build dams to store water. So if water is there on this side like this, the purpose of this dam is to hold this water. If there are joints in the rock, and we just studied that the joints are pathway for water, so if water seeps inside this, if the water seeps inside the rock and it travels and it comes this side, so what is the purpose of this dam? If the water is actually, it is not holding the water, but the water is coming from downwards, so the entire purpose of the dam becomes wrong. Hence, it is detrimental in the dams as well. In the tunnels, what happens? Joints may cause slipping of the rocks around the tunnel. So the tunnels are generally excavated through the rocks, and if there is joints in these rocks here, the rocks above the tunnel, and if there is water in it seeps in those joints, then what will happen? It will create lubrication between the rocks, and the rocks can then slide over each other. And during the sliding, some rocks may slip and the tunnel may fail. Next, in hilly areas, it may cause instability of rocks in the hilly areas. So you see in this hilly area, if there is a joint here somewhere in the rock, and if there is water which has seeped in the rock, so as I already told you that if the water goes inside the rock, it is going to create lubrication for the different parts. Because of that lubrication, the rock may slip, and imagine a rock slipping in such an area. That would be a disastrous thing, right? Now, what is the treatment? So majorly the treatment of joint includes grouting of the joint with cement paste. So if there is a joint in the rock, then we can fill that joint with the cement grouting. Here you can see the actual process that is happening. This is the machine that they use for grouting purpose. Now, what is positive effect of joints? So we talked about the negative effects till now, but there can also be a positive effect, although less, but there is one of the positive effects, and that is it helps in exploration of groundwater and oils. So if there are joints present in the rock, body of the rock, then what will happen? When it rains, the water will seep through that joint, and it will, if there is a underground, what is aquifer? Aquifer is nothing but the underground water storage, underground water body which is present, and it is a natural body. And it is generally the one that when you dig a well or something, and if you find water, it is that water is basically of the aquifer. So if the joints are present, will this aquifer not be filled because of the rainwater which it is receiving from these joints? So it is the positive effect of this jointing would be that it can fill the waters in the wells, or it can fill the groundwater, or it can replenish the groundwater because of its seepage characteristic. So this is it for today's lecture. In the next lecture, we'll be learning about unconformity, a new topic. Till then, take care. Thank you.